Oh, okay, okay, okay.
God damn, I'm sure that was loud as fuck. Featuring me, Utopian Revolt. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Here I thought we were going to have a stream with no audio technical difficulties, and I was wrong. I was wrong. Like, immediately.
Stream without technical difficulties. Would it be a good stream if there weren't technical difficulties?
No.
It just wouldn't be, I don't think. It wouldn't be.
No. No, because it adds to the fun, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And what's a little clicky? What's a little clicky? A little, extra. It's flavor. It's flavoring for the people. They don't know they need the flavor, but it's like, it's like unseasoned chicken. You got to have it seasoned to realize, oh, this is what that is, and be like, oh shit, like that's the vibe, and you'll never go back. I can't hear you, sir. I have completely lost you.
Okay, how about now?
Now you're back. Welcome back, Utopian Revolt.
Oh, this is fantastic. This is going splendidly.
Hey, look, 11 streams, and it's like very few problems. So I mean, we can afford a couple.
Yeah. Right.
How have you been? I know you weren't feeling too well, sir, and I know the people have been worried. How have you been? Are you feeling better?
Yeah, man, I'm feeling better. Stomach is still a little sensitive, but there's no pain anymore, which is nice. Mentally, I'm in a good space as well, so I'm just happy to be back. I know it was a short hiatus, but glad to be here.
Good. I know you haven't been wanting to tell people what's wrong, and I get that. I wouldn't want to tell people I watched Morbius either. It would make me sick too, and it makes me even sicker to think that because of all the hype around it, it might get a sequel. So I understand why you've been feeling sick. You can be honest, but just don't watch Morbius again, and you should be fine.
Man, I tried. I tried to be a good content creator for once, and I'm like, you know what? Time to watch Morbius. I've been seeing everybody talking about it on Twitter, on Reddit. It can't be that bad, right? No. It's worse than getting like expired Chipotle. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's what happens. So stay away from Morbius. Stay away from Jared Leto. Definitely stay away from Tyrese Gibson. And let's just get into it, so that way we can wash the taste of Morbius out of your mouth. Would you like to lead us into the very first topic of the weekly roundup?
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 has been revealed by Infinity Ward, and it looks like we're going to be getting a new gen only experience coming with Warzone 2 a little bit later on. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be coming out in October. Something that is not really going to shock anybody, but it's nice to have an official confirmation.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's going to be great for PlayStation fans to get their very last Call of Duty game, because let's be real, it's probably their very last Call of Duty game, unless there's some, clause in the franchise for them to get a Modern Warfare 3, but I highly doubt that. But, it would be interesting to me to see if this does end up being their very last COD.
It's funny because I think people are talking about the beta being exclusive to PlayStation, so that's interesting to see.
Oh man, those backroom deals, man. The room where it happens. You just never know. You never ever know. I'm excited though. I was a big fan of the most recent Modern Warfare, and if they, pull some of those strings for the same story for Modern Warfare 2 from the old Modern Warfare 2, I'm going to be quite satisfied. But moving on to our second topic, Sony announces Horizon series for Netflix, God of War series for Amazon, and a Gran Turismo show directed by Neil Blomkamp. What?
Ooh, that's...
What?
Okay, listen. For that reason, the Gran Turismo show is my most anticipated of these three.
You gotta understand how odd that is. Okay, we're getting Horizon series. We knew that was probably coming eventually. We were getting God of War series. We all thought it was going to be a movie, but I'll take a TV show. But the director of, just so you guys can have a little bit of an understanding, if you don't know the name, the director of District 9 and Chappie is directing Gran Turismo, the TV show. That's probably the most left field announcement probably across our entire Geeks and Goblins. For me.
what show? What type of? Is it going to be a fictional show? Is it going to be a show about real life cars? Are the cars going to be like aliens or some shit? I don't know. But what a departure! And honestly, what an intriguing concept for a show.
I agree. I completely agree. I'm looking forward to see what we get from that. As a game franchise, Gran Turismo, love it. Let's just see what we get. That's up in the air.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And moving on, also up in the air is the third of this trilogy. All three BioShock games are currently free on the Epic Game Store on PC. If you have not played the BioShock series and you've been looking for an excuse, now is the time. It is free. $0. Get those games right now.
Run to the hills. Scream and cry the name BioShock. Even if you don't have a PC, go and make a freaking account and just claim your free game. And they're doing this, right. I think, for the rest of the month. I think last week, or pardon, it might not be the month. I could be confused. It might be a week. I don't remember. But the last one was Borderlands 3. This one is BioShock, the remaster trilogy. God only knows what's going to be next. Guys, even if you don't have a gaming PC, just go make an account. Epic Game Store, right?
Yeah.
Go make an account go make an Epic Game Store account and just claim a free three AAA fantastic games. Go do
masterpieces. For the record, the BioShock series is 5 geeks out of 5.
Oh, absolutely. I unfortunately didn't get to play the last two, but I played the first one when it first came out. So that's my 5 goblins out of 5. But we're going to go ahead and take Utopian Revolt's word for it. But you know whose word we can take seriously? Disney. They tend not to lie to us, because Star Wars Jedi Survivor has been revealed, a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. It is coming exclusively to next-gen platforms. I knew that was going to start happening. Wink, wink to last episode. Early 2023, and that trailer is a little bit of a doozy, man. Loved the last game, loved the very first one. Looking forward to see what they do here.
Oh man, absolutely. I think the floodgates for new gen exclusive content is finally opening, and this trailer that they showed off for Jedi Survivor looks sick. People are speculating that the person in the back tank, or potentially the person that Cal was fighting in the trailer, could be Darth Revan. Ooh. That'd be really freaking cool. But yeah, I was a big fan of Jedi Fallen Order, and I cannot wait to get more. And it's going to be set 5 years after the first game. I think narratively it's going to be very interesting, because it's going to be set in the same year as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Just specifically Jedi Survivor aside, the amount of announcements coming out of Star Wars Celebration in the last 48 hours, I've never, and I don't think I've been, the time that I went to Star Wars Celebration, it was lit, it was dope, but man, I can't think of a con or a presentation kind of setting where the announcements have just kind of like flowed like water. If you are a Star Wars fan, now is the time to be alive. Let me tell you, right now is the time to be alive.
It's the MCUification of Star Wars after the Skywalker saga. And it's getting to the point where the Star Wars Celebration by itself has enough star power to be even like more talented than San Diego Comic-Con or some of these other conventions. It's crazy what's happening.
Absolutely. And before we move on to our next topic, before you lead us into our next topic, can you just give us a short rundown on the other things that were announced? You're probably more familiar than I am.
Off the top of my head, we have gotten some leaked trailers for Ahsoka, and they showed off that Hera and Sabine are going to be in the show, and also Chopper. So it's going to be a full-blown Rebel sequel from what people are saying. They've announced Tales of the Jedi, which is going to be like an anthology limited series, 6 episodes. We're going to be seeing things from baby Ahsoka, like her origin. We're going to be seeing Jedi Count Dooku. We're going to be seeing young Qui-Gon being played by Liam Neeson's son, and Liam Neeson's also going to be in the show as his adult version. So that's the things that I can think of the top of my head. I know there's been some other things like a High Republic animated show coming out as well. But those are the big ones, I would say.
Oh yeah, as well as the Cassian Andor trailer, which is live on YouTube right now. The audience was shown a trailer for The Mandalorian Season 3. If you want to see it, it's out there. It's not very hard to find. You can hit Twitter and you can hit TikTok. I've seen it like 7 times today. Very, very easy to find. Very good looking. Just a lot of announcements out of Star Wars Celebrations. So, very, very dope. Would you like to lead us into our final topic on the weekly roundup today, sir?
The final topic on this week's weekly roundup is Microsoft has reportedly turned down Marvel's offer to make exclusive Marvel games.
Oh boy. I gotta admit, as much as I have loved and talked high about Microsoft in these last few weeks of Geeks and Goblins, they fumbled the bag, boy. Like, ooh, they fumbled the bag, man. To imagine them having Spider-Man and Wolverine, the games that we received under their belts. Jesus.
Dude, if that's not bad enough, there was another report that came out this week. It hasn't been vetted by reputable sources, but it was put out there that apparently they also turned down the Knights of the Old Republic remake that is being made right now.
Jeez, man. Like, you gotta wonder what was going through their heads. You gotta wonder what was really going through their heads, man.
Probably like just trying to close out that Activision acquisition. Probably they're probably just putting all hands on deck on that.
I mean, that's fair, but like Spider-Man is just as a media property is ridiculous. There's a reason Sony won't let it go. There's a reason we got Morbius, okay? Because Sony knows Spider-Man is a cash cow. All right, but I mean, Morbius was a drag, but like, and it made you sick. But you know, it blows my mind that they dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, no, I don't get it. Maybe we'll get more information as information starts coming out of this. We'll get a little bit more clarity from Microsoft's side of things. But yeah, it's mind-boggling to say the least.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we move into our first topic of the evening, our first major topic, I'd like to make an announcement here on stream live. If you ever miss an episode of Geeks and Goblins and you say to yourself, oh boy, I got so much work that I need to get done, and oh boy, I just can't, if my boss sees that I have another video open on my computer, I'm going to be eating canned tuna for the rest of my life. I just cannot do it. But I've got these AirPods, and I've got these earbuds, and I've got these Sony WM5000HX. Like, oh my gosh, what can I do? I'm happy to announce that every single episode of Geeks and Goblins up until tonight is live and available on your favorite podcast platform right now. Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, not iHeartRadio, because they're really hard to get into, but everybody else, live right now. Go check it out. Goblin Gang Entertainment presents Geeks and Goblins. Trust me, if you love the show, go show us some love over there. Even if you're not going to listen, if you've seen every episode, go and follow, go and like an episode. Just give it some engagement. Let the engagement wheel start turning. It'll pick up by itself. But it's out there for you, you lovely people, you.
It's about damn time. Audio only Geeks and Goblins? Yeah. Oh man, the masses are gonna go wild for this one.
Absolutely. They don't have to look at our ugly mugs anymore. It's great. Someone out there is like, fuck, yes, I've been waiting for this. Like,
yeah,
someone out there. And you know, it's perfect anyway, because that was the original intent of the show. Anyway, as a podcast, so to know that we're finally being able to get into that medium, it works out. It works out very, very well.
I agree, and I'm excited for it. On with the show, good sir. Would you like to bring us in?
The show must go on. Yes. Surprise! We got 2 episodes of Kenobi, man. Like we got 2 whole episodes of Kenobi just dropped on our laps. I just want to tell you guys the story about like this guy's experience with Kenobi. I'm sorry, let me point that way. This guy's experience with Kenobi. I'm like both episodes deep already, and I get a message. Chris, what? Basically, we gotta watch Kenobi. It comes out at midnight, and I'm just sitting here like, what do I say? And I just had to come clean. I was like, bro, I've been watched that, John. It already popped. I feel like I hurt him a little bit, and I feel bad about it. But yes, the first 2 episodes of Kenobi are out, and we have thoughts. They're fresher on your mind. So, Utopian Revolt, will you please take the reins?
I can already tell this is going to be much tougher than Moon Knight, only because these episodes don't really feel like episodes, if that makes any sense. This whole show, this whole whole season is being billed as a limited series. So I view it more as an extended movie than I do a show. So it's hard to really kind of like draw the line on the stand from episode to episode. That being said, from the very first episode, we get a reintroduction to who Obi-Wan Kenobi is. We get they basically subvert all expectations and show off young Leia. We get basically everything we've wanted to see with Ewan McGregor coming back as Obi-Wan for the last 10 years, for the last 15 years, ever since he's last played the character. I'm not going to lie, these first 2 episodes, they are very, very high on my list. I can already see that a recurring segment in Geeks and Goblins is going to be me calling a new show the best show on Disney Plus as they keep coming out. But so far, these first 2 episodes, 5 geeks out of 5 for me, to be honest. We have a perfect blend of emotion. We get a good amount of exposition explaining the state of the Empire, the state of just the galaxy right now. We get a good bit of action. Nothing too climactic quite yet. I think they are saving that on purpose. But so far, a fantastic start to the show.
I gotta say, I think as far as quality goes, especially not even necessarily just Star Wars content that we've gotten, but even Marvel content, I think from a quality standpoint, this is some of the best we've gotten from Disney, period, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Just as far as the cinematography, the music, the portrayals, the acting, short of maybe one particular character, which we'll get into. I think we can go ahead and just kind of spoiler alert here now. If you want to know anything past our impressions of the show, I'm a 5 out of 5 on both episodes. So past this point, you're entering spoiler territory. If you've not watched Kenobi, run to the hills. But yes, I think altogether, this is some of the best we've gotten from Disney so far. It feels clean. It feels solid. Yeah. Those first 2 episodes, they feel like a part of a movie. And I feel like, especially for Star Wars, that's just something we haven't really gotten yet from the Disney Plus shows. Nothing feels, in my opinion, that it's been like that true cinema quality just yet. That's said for me for WandaVision. That's said for pretty much all the MCU shows. None of them have had that like quality punch just yet. But I think Kenobi feels good, and most importantly for me, it feels like Star Wars.
Yeah. Dude, to your point about how clean it looks, how good it looks, just visually, that opening scene of episode 1 where it shows the Jedi Temple, seeing the reflection off of the clone trooper's armor, seeing the clone trooper armor being actual practical effects instead of CG for the first time, I think it's the first time that we've seen it, just practical effects like that. It was beautiful, man. It really was. I think we found out what happened to the budget of the first 2 Moon Knight episodes. I think it went straight to this show.
Yeah, and the budget for She-Hulk's CGI.
Oh,
but I mean, I'd put all my bets on Star Wars too. You know, I mean, who wouldn't? Right. I think you're drawing in a little bit of a wider audience there. Let's go ahead and get into that breakdown a little bit. Let's talk episode 1. No particular format here, just kind of general thoughts and impressions on the whole thing. I'll go ahead and kick it off. What a absolute treat it is to have Ewan McGregor back in Star Wars. Just an absolute treat. First off, I don't think they would have been bold enough to get anybody else to be Obi-Wan, but no one else could be the man. I think he embodies who Obi-Wan is supposed to be. And, you know, we're seeing kind of a tattered stinky, apparently, according to Jawas. A tattered, stinky, been through it, Obi-Wan, just kind of defeated, even in conversations with the Jedi youngling grown up, he's kind of just over everything. He's trying to do what he has to do to survive at this point, and he does not care what that takes. And pushing aside a Jedi that's on the run from Inquisitors is part of that.
It was, yeah, I think it was very interesting to see how Obi-Wan was, at least in the first episode. It was very reminiscent of Luke in The Last Jedi, and I'm wondering how the fan base as a whole is viewing it or taking that. It's interesting to see someone who is inherently very optimistic, very hopeful, very protective of people, being resistant, being hesitant to help, being hesitant to expose himself just because he's taking care of Luke. It was an angle that I didn't really consider going into this show, but now that we've gotten a little taste of it, it makes so much sense, and I cannot wait to see how Obi-Wan grows during these 6 episodes.
I I didn't know what to expect really from this series. I really didn't. I didn't know the story it was going to tell. I didn't know how it was going to get us to where we're going to go. But the idea of seeing Obi-Wan kind of become Obi-Wan again is really intriguing to me, and I want to know to what extent it's going to be. We know that at some point he goes back to Tatooine. We know he goes back to Tatooine and lives the life as a Ben, and watches over Luke to the best of his ability. So from the idea of character growth, I'm curious to see what sets him back on that path of being the Jedi master that we know. We know that comes back a little bit, but I'm curious to see what event really sets him back on track, because even leading into the end of episode 2, he's really just doing this to half fulfill an end of his bargain, as well as to kind of make up for what happened. So I want to see where he goes after that.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that you didn't really know what to expect going into the show, because honestly, neither did I. I didn't know what they were going to touch on, exactly what story they were going to tell. A lot of people even argued that this show was unnecessary. These first 2 episodes already, shoved that to the side, because that's completely wrong. But it is very interesting to see what it's adding to Star Wars as a whole. Another thing that I didn't really consider at all going into this was the fact that Obi-Wan didn't realize that Anakin was still alive, that Darth Vader is still around. So at the very end of episode 2, when he has that realization, just first of all, fantastic acting by Ewan McGregor as always, just that emotion on his face.
Absolutely.
But you could feel Obi-Wan's pain, his surprise, his relief almost, but also how scared he was about that. Oh man, this show is going to interesting directions. For example, young Leia, did not expect to ever in my life see young Leia, or even to see Alderaan. That whole sequence that we got with that. First of all, a shout out to that child actor. I'm usually very hesitant when it comes to children playing major roles in shows like this, because they tend not to act very well most of the time. But whoever this girl is, I'm gonna have to find out her name. She has that Carrie Fisher, you know what I'm saying? That impression, that attitude. She definitely brought that character to life. It felt like Leia.
So I will agree. She is doing a smack dab job. And I do agree with you. She is definitely bringing Leia to life. But I got to admit, I would not mind if, she got tossed into an air duct. That child is annoying. And I'm not talking about the actress. I'm not talking about the actress at all. I'm talking about little Leia. Oh my God. I feel like, I saw somebody say it on TikTok earlier. I hate her as much as I hate Wanda's kids. Like, absolutely, like, frustrating and annoying to watch. I'm sorry. I understand that Leia was headstrong, and I understand that, you know, she was independent, and she knew how she wanted to do things at a young age. Do I feel like they wrote that? No, I don't feel like they wrote that at all. And if it's not at fault of the writing, I do believe it's at fault of the directing. Child actors can be very hard to work with. They can be very hard to direct. I'm definitely not trying to put that on the actress. I still think she's doing a fantastic job. But I do think that I feel like a little bit more could have been done to make child Leia less annoying and more, you know, more headstrong, I guess. Maybe there's nothing that we could have done there. Honestly, she pissed me off like Aang did in the first couple of seasons of Avatar. Just like, you're a child, and I need you to, like, I get that, but, like, I need you to act like an adult for all of 5 minutes, please.
You see, I feel that's very interesting that you say that, because I feel the complete opposite. I feel like she brought a lot of the humanity into the first couple episodes. Her interaction with Bail Organa, for example, it's the most wholesome thing that we've gotten on Disney Plus, in my opinion, unless I'm just spacing out or something like that. But just seeing her stand up to her cousin, for example, we did get a lot of the flashes of Leia that we would expect from adult Leia. Even her interactions with Obi-Wan, it was, in my opinion, that was fantastically done. What wasn't really Leia-esque was how she constantly got both of them in trouble over and over and over just because she was being overly suspicious. That
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, please.
I guess it makes sense because she is a princess, and she's a high value target. That there's no getting around that. So I guess the suspicion makes sense, but the way that she got them in trouble felt too uncharacteristic.
It's not even so much that it felt uncharacteristic. It's just kind of like, for me anyway, it felt like it was counterproductive to what they were trying to tell us about her character through the entire episode. We get the idea that she's an empath. You know, she can tell what a person is feeling. And, you know, they play into that a little bit by, you know, her realizing that he is keeping a secret. But I feel like there's a little bit of a difference between, like, realizing he's keeping a secret and, like, being able to tell if, you know, he's telling the truth or lying about wanting to keep you safe. And that was the frustrating point for me, because she kept putting them in situations, and then we get to a point where she's like, oh, I don't know if I can trust you. You're a wanted man. Like, what happened to being an empath, like, 5 seconds ago? Like, literally 5 seconds ago, you were able to say, like, oh, you're keeping a secret from me. And now all of a sudden you can't be like, oh, you're a wanted man, but I clearly see that you have, like, actual, like, good intentions. It was just a little sloppy for me on that point. It is one of the few gripes that I have about these episodes. The second of which being Reva. Like, I feel like they gave the game away a little too quick on to who her character is. Until it is like proven. My theory is that she is one of the younglings from the beginning of the episode that managed to escape the Jedi Temple. I think that is abundantly obvious. I think it is abundantly obvious. She has so much resentment and hate for Obi-Wan, and I remember watching it and thinking to myself, like, why? I'm thinking, like, back to, like, everything that we've at least had from a movie standpoint, and I'm like, there's no interaction with, like, from Obi-Wan with anybody else that would cause them to, like, grow up and be like, ooh, that Obi-Wan guy. So, like, I think they've made it a little too obvious that she's a youngling that feels betrayed by the Jedi Order and what happened, and feels like they didn't protect the way that they were supposed to. And besides that, she's just not intimidating as a villain. And I'm not sure if that's the actress, I'm not sure if that's the writing, but I don't watch her and feel, like, intimidated. I felt like Owen did in the scene where she was interrogating all the people in Tatooine, and he was just standing there like, nope, don't know what you're talking about. Like, I feel like it was less out of fear and more out of, like, bro, I'm not afraid of you. Like, I'm not scared. Can you just back up? Your breath stank. Like that was the vibe I was getting the whole time.
I agree with you. I honestly do. I feel like it was mostly the directing. Going to that second episode where she was on the rooftops of Dio. Dio, I think was the name.
Yes, Dayu.
Dayu, yes. So essentially, she was just waiting to see what chaos would ensue with her putting out a bounty on Obi-Wan, and then just seeing that firefight in the distance, and the entire rest of the show, it felt like, or the rest of the episode, it felt like she was just doing parkour. She was just like trying to do an audition for Mirror's Edge 3 or something like that. It felt weird. It didn't feel like it was meant for anything. I don't know if they know what they're doing with that character yet. I have a feeling we're going to get answers sooner rather than later when it comes to the third sister. But you're right. She's not intimidating at all. And I'm so happy that they've announced that Vader is part of the show. Because if not, I'd be feeling really worried about what the climax for this show would be.
And you know, maybe it's like, and now that I'm watching the loop that we have going on here as well, and I'm thinking to myself, like, just from a villain standpoint, like, I think this show is gonna need Vader, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, because all of the Inquisitors, none of them terrify me. From the Grand Inquisitor to I think the fifth brother, I think that one is. I always remember which number they are, but none of them give me like that villain vibes. None of them feel like a threat, right? And that's weird because they're a threat. Like they are a threat. And
it's
go ahead.
Real quick, I just want to say the fifth brother, he's not intimidating, but I just find his whole character to be badass. Just the way that they added like some sort of rumble to his voice. Yeah. I love that character. Not as a villain, but just as a regular Star Wars character.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. I just I'll tell you what could have strengthened it for me a little bit here. Seeing them take down the runaway Jedi that they were chasing in the beginning of the episode. I feel like going into the situation that we're going to be going into in episode 3, I feel like what we needed was kind of a little bit of a push that said like, hey, these guys really can't be messed with. And of course, as Star Wars fans, we know that and we should know that, but it's kind of a visual confirmation thing as well, just from a just from an onlooker standpoint. I need to like be reminded that these guys are the real deal, like they're what's up. And I think what the most we got was her cutting off some lady's arm, and even when she cut the lady's arm off, the lady was just kind of like, oh. like I get it, like lightsabers cauterize the wound and all, but like it just didn't. There's no impact for me right now with the Inquisitors. So Vader coming into the situation is absolutely, for me, hopefully going to give us a little bit more fright, a little bit more terror, hopefully.
Oh, I agree. Even like at the very end of episode 2, where Reva was just looking at the ship, basically shaking her fist. We will catch you. Yeah. You cannot run.
Like, sis, he can't hear you. That is an enclosed metal box.
I don't understand it. I really don't. And I think I want to say these first 2 episodes, while I've given it a perfect score, it just felt off. There were multiple moments where a scene cut in what I felt was too early. I'm like, let that linger a little bit. Let us see where that's going to go. It felt awkwardly cut, kind of rushed in a way with its pace. It's a testament to the quality of what we've gotten so far, that despite all these issues and gripes that we have, we're still giving it a perfect score, though.
Yeah, absolutely. To what you just said, I'm definitely giving episode 1 the stronger episode of the 2. Absolutely, I feel like it was a lot more cohesive because it was a setup. It sets up everything that it needs to, and I feel like episode 2 is almost kind of. Bear with me here while I try to like kind of sculpt this idea. Episode 2 for me felt more like a season ending.
Yeah,
if that makes
I could
sense.
see that. Yeah.
You know, it felt more like a season ending, but we're about to go directly into the meat of it. You know, we're about to go directly into the next season.
I wonder if that's exactly why they dropped both of these 2 episodes at the same time.
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe sitting down in the editing room, realizing that episode two is just it wasn't that strong. Like I feel like you know what, I'm gonna change my score.
Okay.
I'm gonna change my score. I do give episode 1 still a 5 goblins out of 5, but I definitely have to give episode 2 kind of a 3 out of 5.
I'm gonna go ahead and also change my score, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it at a 4 for the second episode.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I don't feel like it gave us enough. I feel like it didn't. I feel like it was a little too all over the place. I feel like the portrayals also weighed the episode down a little bit between Reva and definitely the writing and the direction of little Leia. I think Obi-Wan was serviceable. I think the Grand Inquisitor was serviceable, even though we know he's not dead. I mean, and that's not even a spoiler, I'm sorry. If you're familiar with the Star Wars mythos and the lore, you were very well aware that the Grand Inquisitor is in other shows, other Star Wars shows, and he gets killed later. That's not a surprise. That's a Google search. But
right.
So I mean, I feel like there's a reason they did it. Maybe we'll get kind of I've noticed with the Disney Plus shows is it's specifically Star Wars. They've loved to bring characters back after we thought they were dead. Cobb Vanth is a good example. Like, they've been doing it for a while now. I don't know why that's the shtick, but I mean, shit, I'll take it, I guess. But yeah, the episode 2 is definitely the weaker episode.
But who single-handedly brought that episode up? Haja.
All right.
It was funny because when he was originally cast into the show, everyone was like, "Oh, he's gonna be an actual Jedi. It's gonna be so cool." I think what we got was even better.
Kamal Nanjiani as a Jedi. No. No, we need him as comic relief. I knew exactly why he was going to be there. If you watched Eternals, you knew why Kamal Nanjiani was there. To be the funny man. To be the funny man. And he was the funny man. I think his character was good. I think his character was necessary. As a matter of fact, thank you for bringing Haja into this conversation. Because it reminds me now why. It gives me further reason as to why I give this a 3 out of 5. Me and Azu both were watching, and the scene after he told Obi-Wan where to go, and then was like, "I'm gonna buy you some time," and then just ran right into Reva. Reva pushed him against the wall and was like, "Oh, you know exactly where he is. Let me just steal that out of your mind, and I'm gonna walk away." All right, bro, appreciate it. You could have just, ran away, with the information that that you're so precious. Thank you for not doing that. Episode 3 was actually the more and more I think about it, was actually kind of a weak episode narratively.
It was. There really wasn't much to tell. I think it was mostly about establishing that relationship between Obi-Wan and Leia, I think it was mostly about that, and also introducing Obi-Wan getting back into action, introducing him regaining his Force abilities, just being an overall badass that was retired for a very long time and coming back into the mix of things.
Fair. So, I do have a concern. Before we move on to our next topic, I do have a concern for the series. I do have a very, very big concern. So earlier in the episode, you mentioned how a lot of people felt like the show wasn't even necessary. Mm-hmm. I got to admit, I get it. I kind of get the thought. While I'm enjoying myself, and I am enjoying myself, I kind of understand. And I say that, by me saying that, I'm just kind of like, where's this really all going? We know that it's going to lead to a confrontation between, Vader and Obi-Wan. That's kind of a given. But besides that, where are we really going with the show? What all does it really prove to add to the Star Wars mythos? Besides, right now, 2 kind of glaringly weird plot holes: the death the death, I say that with quotation marks, of the Grand Inquisitor, and also the revelation that Reva knows that Anakin is Darth Vader, because up until this point, we were under the assumption that nobody knew that they were one and the same. So, I mean, where do you think Kenobi is going to take us? Because honestly, I'm really not too sure right now.
I think everything is building up to that climactic sequence where it's going to be Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader. I hope that sequence alone has enough emotional capacity to carry the rest of the show. To be honest, though, where you have concern, I have excitement.
Okay.
Knowing the people who have been behind this specific show, knowing how passionate Ewan McGregor was wanting to get back into Star Wars, I think these first 2 episodes are going to be the weakest of the bunch. And I think going forward, we're going to be getting just straight up bangers.
All right. Before we move on to our next topic, is there anything else you'd like to add, sir?
I guess I have a question to pose to you.
Okay.
We have asked this a couple episodes ago, but now with Jedi Survivor being announced and the time period that it's being announced in, do you think we get any sort of like tie-in to this show?
I'll sum this up very quickly. When I found out about Jedi Survivor, I was laying in bed, and as you can testify to this, the only words out of my mouth were, "Damn it, Alex was right." We will very well may get some form of tie-in. I don't know what it'll be. I'm not going to say it's going to be a Cal Kestis. I'm not going to say any of that. But what I will say is it seems much more likely now that we see some type of tie-in. Much more likely. Also, actually, real quick, I do want to throw this theory out here very, very quickly before we lead into Thor, Love, and Thunder. I do think, just based off the bullshit that is typical television writing, Obi-Wan sitting there in the cave, falling, waking up from a nightmare, just going, "Qui-Gon, Master Qui-Gon, I need you." I will not be surprised if we get him in his moment of need. Qui-Gon's gonna pop up and be like, "Hey, yo, Obi, my boy, I got you. Don't worry about it. Derp to derp to derp. Be yourself," and then that's what we're gonna get. And I firmly believe it.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't even think it's going to be a surprise. I'm straight up expecting it at this point because we've seen it 2 episodes now. We saw it in episode 1 when he was in the cave, and also in episode 2 when he had entered Daiyu. So it's going to happen 100%. And I'm loving the fact that Qui-Gon is being reintegrated into Star Wars. We're getting him in Tales of the Jedi. We're getting him most likely in this show. Keep it going, man. Keep it going.
I don't know about 100%, but moving on. We recently, during an episode of Sports Ball, we got a brand new trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder. Let's cut the BS and let's just take a look at that together, shall we?
Cool.
Kids, get your popcorn now. Let me tell you the story of the space Viking, Thor Odinson. He was no ordinary man. He was a god. After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. Well, he got in shape. He went from dad bod to god bod. And after all that, he reclaimed his title as the one and only Thor. Oh, spoke too soon.
Jane? The old ex-girlfriend.
What's it been, like 3, 4 years?
8 years, 7 months, and 6 days, give or take.
Am I, sensing feelings?
Well, you're right.
The only ones who gods care about is themselves.
So this is my vow. All gods will die. I just want to say that was very, very impressive what you did back there.
He's just my first bad guy.
You never forget your first.
Let's kill. You have something worth fighting for.
Let's see who you are. I take off your disguise. And flick.
Oh,
You flick too hard, damn it!
Should we help him?
And eventually, grape.
Thor, Love, and Thunder.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, speak your mind. Speak your mind.
I feel like Disney is just slapping us in the face over and over. 99% of the CG that they showed off in this trailer was fantastic, but that one shot where Thor's just like, Jane? And it just had that weird CGI helmet on him. His voice sounded like Shaggy, or actually, it sounded like Scooby-Doo. I don't understand that scene. I understand that's Taika Waititi's humor, and I love him to death. But that scene specifically made me kind of like internally cringe a little bit, specifically because of the CG.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic trailer, worst part of the trailer. And, you know, it's funny because it's supposed to be fan service. Since the very first Thor movie, all we have wanted was Thor in a helmet. Just give us the damn helmet. And we finally get, and it's just kind of like, oh, helmet. Oh, God. The worst part of the trailer, arguably, but honestly, it's not too bad. It's not She-Hulk bad, but it is pretty like, oh, wow. But otherwise, utterly amazing trailer, you know? I think so, anyway.
I agree. I completely agree. It sets the tone perfectly, in my opinion. I do have a question for you. I do not know who Christian Bale is portraying here.
That, my friend, is Gore the God Butcher. Long story short, he's a member of an alien race that worship the gods. Worshipped gods, really, not the gods, but gods. I'm not really too sure how exactly they're going to go about it here, but in the comics, he, you know, all his life, him and his people, they suffered on this planet. This planet that they live on is just, it's not meant for living. It's not livable. And they suffer and suffer and suffer, but, you know, his people are always just kind of like, oh, but the gods will provide, but the gods never provide. So he has a family, and essentially at multiple points in his life, he loses all of his family. To the harsh conditions of this planet, and, you know, he finally just, you know, tells the rest of his tribe, like, damn the gods, they're not doing anything for us. Like, we worship them and they do nothing, and all we do is suffer. So he runs out into the wilderness, and he stumbles across two gods fighting, and he ends up, you know, striking down one of those gods with a weapon that one of them dropped, which actually in the comics ended up being the weapon of Null, the creator of the symbiotes. And if that sounds familiar, the symbiotes are Venom and Carnage from Spider-Man, which is its own whole separate lore. But it's called the Necro Sword, and he essentially uses that to slay gods. And the rest will kind of be told here. But he is OP. He is top tier as far as strength goes. He has the means to slay whatever god he so chooses. And it looks like, from everything that I see in the trailer, he's lining up to take out Zeus in this film, and that is no easy task, let me tell you.
Is that Necro Sword potentially the sword that they focused up on there with the crossguard?
Yes, that is 100% the Necro Sword, or otherwise known as All Black. Both amazing sword names, but yeah, 100%. And he will use that to kill Zeus, in my opinion. I definitely think Zeus is going down. Say la vie to Russell Crowe, at the halfway point. Other little interesting things here, man. At a certain point, you see Valkyrie using Zeus's bolt of lightning to fight Gore in that little fight. You can catch it in the loop as it goes back around again, but I'm excited about this movie, man. At first, I was not. I didn't think the first trailer was very exciting. It was, like, super exciting for me anyway. I wasn't in love with Thor, Love, and Thunder. But now that we are here, now that I have seen Christian Bale's Gord the God Butcher, and now that I'm seeing some more Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, the mighty Thor, I'm sold on this movie.
It honestly feels like it's hitting a balance between Ragnarok and the previous Thor movies. It's not completely going the humor route, although it does have a plentiful amount of that type of stuff and just great comedy. Taika Waititi's comedies is golden, but it does seem like it's more serious than Ragnarok was, and I could definitely appreciate that.
That's something that I'm looking forward to. If you know me, you know that I was not as much of a fan of Ragnarok as everybody else was. It seems like people loved Ragnarok, and there was a lot to like there, but you also have to be a fan of Taika Waititi's humor, and that is something I'm not. Even little moments here in the trailer, the whole bumbling, yeah, right. The whole I don't necessarily need to see, Chris Hemsworth's chiseled back and the cheeks. I don't need to see that. It's
fan service, man. It's fan service.
Yeah, I'm not the fan that wants that. I get that it's out there for people, so I'm not knocking it. If you want to see Chris Hemsworth cheeks, go forth and see Chris Hemsworth cheeks. I'm not going to stop you. Go peer upon those wonderful cheeks. But, for me, I'm just like, I don't need the cheeks. I don't need the cheeks. Right. I don't need the humor. But I'm not saying I need the movie to be humorless, but, I hope it's toned down a little bit, because it seemed like every corner of Ragnarok was a joke.
Yeah, I agree with that. From the trailers alone, this looks like it has the potential to tell a more cohesive story than the last iteration that we've gotten, which was Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. And that part alone gets me excited. Doctor Strange, it had a lot going for it. It definitely was less humor-centric than a lot of MCU movies and properties we've gotten recently. But it just felt rushed. It felt anticlimactic. And I hope, especially now with Gore, I hope we get something a little bit grander scale.
I can't imagine that we don't. Christian Bale is a powerhouse. He's Batman. like he's been Batman. He's been Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, The Machinist. I could go on about Christian Bale's career, and say what you want about him as a person behind the camera. When the cameras are off. But I know when those cameras are on and they're shining on Christian Bale, that you're going to get work, and I strongly predict top 5 Marvel villain. Easy. Ooh. Easy. Ooh. Easy. Like, I just turned my phone over. Easy. like that easy, dude. I don't see him dialing this in. I don't see him giving us a weak performance. Christian Bale would not have taken this role if he didn't think he could either bring something to it or knock it out the damn park. And from everything that I'm seeing here, I'm so happy he's on the screen right now. From everything that I'm seeing here, he is 100% going to do that.
Oh, I agree. He also looks so freaking badass. But before we get into that, I don't want to take the conversation off rails too much, but who is in your current top 5 for villains?
Oh, wow. I was not prepared for that question. Let me... This deserves me. This deserves pulling up an actual list of them, because there are a lot. There are a lot. So, thank God for that. All right, let's see here. Without having Gore on the list currently, because that's just not fair. Mm-hmm. Ooh, let's see. Oh wow, this is tough now that I'm actually looking at them all. Killmonger. All right, I gotta give you these in no particular order, right? Because I don't think there's a way for me to do it in particular order. Killmonger is definitely up there. Mm-hmm. Has to be up there. Who else do we have? What's his freaking name? Hold on, I'm gonna have to pull up a different list because I forgot Bruh's name. But absolutely on the list. Not you, Malekith. Definitely not Malekith. Loki still counts. Loki is the top 5, and he's not the one who I was trying to figure out the name of. Oh my god, there's so many.
Ego?
I'm sorry?
Would you consider Ego as part of that top 5?
Not the top 5. Not for me.
Okay.
Not for me. Justin Hammer is definitely up there. From Iron Man 2, played by Sam Rockwell, who coincidentally was actually like on the short list to play Tony Stark, if you didn't know that. So watch Iron Man 2 again, and with that in mind, and you'll get it. You'll absolutely get it. An unsung villain, I think, is Darren Cross, Yellow Jacket from the first Iron Man movie. I had to watch the movie again to kind of like to get it. I get it. Like, he serves his purpose and he serves as well. And I'm not saying this from like a like scheme of like favorite like top 5 Marvel villains from like the most sinister or anything like that, but just like that served the purpose and did their job, right? So Loki, Killmonger, yeah, Loki, Killmonger, Justin Hammer. That's my 3, and then my last 2 are tough. My last 2 are definitely between Thanos, Norman Osborn.
Okay.
From Spider-Man No Way Home, specifically, obviously.
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch.
That's tough.
And Mysterio.
Oh, I like that. I like that choice.
All of them, like, as far as, like, I feel like they go without saying for what they did for, like, the MCU from a villain standpoint. Thanos, obviously, I'm not going to explain Thanos. We know what Thanos did. I'm not going to do that. Norman Osborn broke Spider-Man. He broke him. Like, leave the rest of the film behind. Like, the Green Goblin in the MCU is a terror. like oh god, I think back to that scene where we realize what's happening. Like, Norman's on sabbatical, honey. Like, what? Like, Willem Dafoe, a class act, master class in acting, like 100%. Scarlet Witch, obviously, we know what she's done. She's probably the most powerful villain on that list. And Mysterio, like, he was the first person he exposed Spider-Man to the world.
Yeah.
Not Multiverse of Madness, but Spider-Man No Way Home is a direct result of his villainy. And he did it well. He did it so well. He did it so well that until the moment that everyone forgot who Peter Parker was, everyone still believed him.
Yeah.
Like, those are
crazy,
those are my like top 5s. I can't give you that like the last 2 definitively. Thanos is on there, and fine. If I have to like pick one, Thanos is on there, easily followed by, in my opinion, Green Goblin.
Okay.
And I know
so Scarlet Witch gets left off.
Yeah, just because I think her motivations are solid, but like there were more solutions to her problem than she wanted to be open to. You could literally just probably make your kids again, or find the one dimension where they're orphaned. Yeah, like, if we're being real, I like her motivations because the misfortune is this could end up on TikTok. I like her motivations. Like, I am a big fan of her as a villain. She's #1 most powerful villain in the MCU. And I'm not saying this to defend myself. Those are all facts. But the reality of it is, she could have solved her problem a multitude of other ways. Just saying.
You're not wrong about that.
Just saying.
Well, I'm glad I asked then.
Thank you for asking.
Yes,
I hadn't really put much thought into it. Just to jump back into Thor: Love and Thunder, I gotta tell you something that I'm not excited for about this movie, and I really hope it's a very short thing. Not excited for the Guardians at all.
Yeah, it just feels like they're being kind of, I don't know. It feels like they're thrown in there just to have more name recognition.
Yeah, it's not my favorite like MCU brand. I've never been in love with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't really have much of a connection there. So, I don't know. Oh, I feel like I hurt you just now.
Oh man, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is still in my top 3 MCU movies.
We got so many.
Moving on.
We got so many. We've got at least like 33 of them, and that's
Yeah.
the top 3. Really?
Bro, Guardians of the Galaxy, like, I guess the reason I love it so much is because it reminds me so much of Star Wars. That group, that ensemble cast where they're just trying to save the freaking galaxy. So, while I am excited to see them in Thor, just because I love seeing more Peter Quill, more Rocket, more Groot, more Drax, and all that, I don't know. I feel like you're saying, it's just a little overplayed at this point. I'm excited for the 3rd volume of Guardians of the Galaxy. I just don't see why we need to have them in Thor: Love and Thunder. Maybe the movie proves us wrong though.
Yeah, I just don't know what they bring to the table, you know? I mean, I see them being like in and out, maybe, just kind of like as a vessel to deliver Thor to where he needs to be. Because we know that he left with them, right? We know that he left with them at the end of Endgame. So at some point, I think what we're gonna see here is we're gonna see him pop in, give his whole like, oh, this isn't fun for me anymore. Like, I need to grow up, and then like all the Peter Quill stuff and Guardian stuff that we saw in the beginning of, not the beginning, but in the first trailer that we got is going to happen, and all the stuff that we got here is going to happen, and then they're just going to leave, and that is going to be the Guardians.
Probably. You're probably right about that. That's definitely the vibe that these trailers so far are given.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm most excited for here, though, is I feel like Thor: Love and Thunder is going to be a story about loss. You know, accepting loss and, you know, trying to move on from it and not being able to. I feel like that's something all these characters have in common. Thor has lost so much as a character. And, you know, based off that first trailer, they're telling us, like, hey, he wants to grow and he knows that he has to be more than just warrior Thor. Like, he has to be more than that. Jane, if they play the route that they do in the comics, Jane has cancer here. And whenever she is not in the mighty Thor form, you know, her cancer progresses worse because she is in the mighty Thor form, which is probably likely why we see her a lot in this trailer, primarily as the mighty Thor. You know, Valkyrie has lost her freedom being the leader of New Asgard. And, of course, Gore himself has lost his family. The one thing that he loved, the one thing that he had on this terrible existence that he had. I do think we're going to see a beautiful story here of duality and dealing with loss and coping. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Maybe I'm thinking a little too deeply on Thor, but I really do think that's the direction that they're going in.
I can see that. With this video looping over and over and the way that you were explaining it, I was kind of viewing the trailer with a different perspective. And honestly, it seems like that is definitely a possibility, and a pretty strong one at that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And it's right around the corner. It's so close. It's July? July, right? Hold on. It's about to hit that point in the loop where we can tell, so I can actually like fully remember what
8th of July, I believe it is.
8th of July? That's not as close as I wanted it to be. Hold on. It's right here. Damn, the 8th of July. I'm hoping to get screening tickets for that. That's going to be dope, man. That's going to be absolutely dope.
I agree.
Great
Absolutely.
trailer. Great trailer. And would you like to lead us to our final topic of the evening tonight, sir?
The final topic. So Sony came out and did Sony things. They announced a new State of Play being streamed next Thursday.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
They have highlighted that this will be a third-party showcase. A lot of people seem to be speculating that we'll be getting an extended amount of footage for Final Fantasy 16, among other things. Honestly, even if it was just 30 minutes of Final Fantasy 16, I'd be all for it.
30 minutes of Final Fantasy 16. I gotta admit, I have been, like, on my, like toes wondering what's been going on with that game, man. I'm super looking forward to it, so I really hope so. What else would you like to see on that docket? Because I have a couple of things.
I think we're gonna be seeing a lot more first-party games being announced for PC.
Okay.
I think there's been some listings popping up on Steam for, or sorry, not Steam, but just popping up on the internet for, I think it was Epic Store, Ghost of Tsushima, coming to PC.
Ooh.
That'd be great, first of all. I don't know what else to expect from this, considering that they said it was third-party. Do you think we get any first-party exclusives being announced here?
That's news to me, actually. I was not aware that it was strictly third party.
I don't think they said it was only going to be third party, but they have put a heavy emphasis on explaining that this is a third party showcase.
Copy. I'm actually rereading it now. We'll have some exciting reveals from our third party partners. Cool. I can live with that. I'm not like super duper excited about it, but I can live with it. I don't know, man. From a third-party perspective, I'm not entirely too sure what I'd like to see there. I do know something that is exciting from their little blog post that they put out about their state of plays. I do know that we are getting some PSVR 2 stuff. So I know you were saying earlier to me that you were thinking about getting a Meta Quest, but how do you feel about getting a PSVR 2 instead?
I'm not gonna lie, I would dig that. As long as they add an option where you can use it wirelessly. There's no reason not to, especially with 5 gigahertz reaching more and more home networks. As long as I don't have to be connected through Type-C all the time, I can see that being an even better experience. They've already mentioned that they're going to be bringing the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback. Yeah. That's going to be inside-out tracking. The PSVR 2 sounds like revolutionary. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, revolutionary. I think back to the PSVR and like, yeah, it was dope. It was great, but like, I don't think they supported it the way that they could have or should have. So I would like to think that with the PSVR 2, you know, we start to see some better support there. I'd like to see some more interesting applications. I don't think it could happen at all, but throwing us in the first person seat of some games, maybe I know this is a stretch, but like, you know, this is a dream world to live in, but like maybe some first person God of War views, like maybe bring back some of those IPs that we've been dealing with, maybe some Ghost of Tsushima action.
That'd be really freaking cool.
I think that would be nutty, dude. Like, I don't know if we get it. I think it's a stretch. Again, I do think it's a stretch. But I think PSVR 2 is going to have to do something to separate itself from what we already have in the VR realm. I think we're in a state in gaming right now where you don't really hear too much about VR anymore. It's kind of just settled in as a niche. At least I don't anyway. I don't know. I hear the occasional like, oh, you should play this or oh, you should play that. But nothing that anyone's making a big deal out of, you know? Nothing that's making me jump to get the next VR headset.
I feel like there was a good swing of momentum after Half-Life Alyx came out. And everyone's like, oh my god, VR is going mainstream. We're about to get some blockbuster games. And ever since Half-Life Alyx came out, there hasn't really been that blockbuster game, you know?
Yeah, no. I think it might also be an accessibility issue as well, you know? Like, I think they know. They have to know that a lot of people just aren't going to bite on VR. They have to know that it's very niche. I know very few people that have it. I have a Quest. I know AJ Darkfire has a Quest. Another one of our coworkers, 2 of our coworkers, I think I'm aware of that have Quests, but otherwise, I just don't think VR's ever hit.
I know we have one coworker that has a Valve Index, so he's a big baller right there. But despite, I mean, we have to also remember we work with a bunch of nerds and a bunch of geeks, so it's still not necessarily disproving the fact that it's niche. My question to you is, do you think that VR could ever get out of that?
Really, I don't. I think it's got those hurdles, right? So, like you mentioned, for example, you hope that it's wireless in some way. I feel like that's a very big hurdle for some people. It's a big hurdle for me. I have to, the way my whole setup works is, if I want to use my Quest in conjunction with my PC, I have to have an extremely long cable in the space and need to make sure that the cable is not going to get caught on anything. Otherwise, my TV is going to come tumbling down. My desktop is going to come tumbling down. Something's going to come down. It's just not an easy, it's not an accessible platform of gaming for a lot of people. And I find that the people that truly, really enjoy their VR experience, short of the cable, have the space for it.
Yep.
One of the initial reasons why I didn't play mine when I first got it, short of the motion sickness, was I just didn't have the space for it. I remember carving out like a corner of the room where like a corner of the bed was still in that corner, and I had to play in this weird like boomerang shape area. And then when I finally moved everything into the living room, I had to move the table, I had to move the chair. At the time, it was all set up really different, but it's just not super accessible unless you have the space. And I'm not really sure if VR is really ever going to pick up the way that people really want it to.
I thought that the Quest 2 would probably be the best shot, considering that it's only $299, it's a standalone device, and it's fully wireless. It has sold very well, but it's still within the range of a niche product. So if the Quest wasn't able to do it, I don't think the PSVR 2 would be able to do it, but it all depends on how much support Sony's throwing into it.
Agreed. And from a first-party perspective, I think it could be good coming from Sony. I think that's one area where like a functioning gaming VR headset will excel, right? If they have first-party support in a heavy way. And in a heavy way, I mean a fully fledged and thought out game that, I can put hours into and not want to take the headset off. And there's just been nothing for me that's made me want to do that. All the experiences that are available to me on a Quest and ideally would be on a PS2 are all very short experiences. I agree. Yeah, there are the exceptions like Half-Life Alyx, where you can spend a lot of time in there, and Half-Life Alyx. But otherwise, if it's the rest of them are VR accessories to games that already exist. So you're just playing a game that now also has a VR mode, which is cool, but what the game was really designed for. And then besides that, it's games that aren't really like story games, like story-based games that like right. I'm accomplishing something in. So by that I mean like your Beat Sabers, where you're tossing it on, you're playing Beat Saber for maybe like 20-30 minutes or maybe even longer, but after that, you're probably taking your headset off.
Yeah. I mean, those short experiences are meant to be played mainly with friends. It's usually in a party environment. So you're not going to be choosing to play that over any other game in your backlog most of the time, especially when it has such an arduous setup process. That being said, Gran Turismo 7, the DualSense controller already makes you feel like you're driving the car. Imagining playing that game in VR sounds amazing. If we get something like Marvel Spider-Man in a VR environment, where they somehow solve motion sickness and you could just swing around and just have a blast. Yeah. I mean, we kind of got a little bit of that with the first PSVR, right? When Sony came out with the Iron Man game.
Yeah.
I've heard some decent things about it.
I've heard great
that
things.
Motion sickness.
Yeah,
actually, really? So, yeah, I mean, I think if they put enough resources into PSVR 2, it could end up actually breaking out of that niche, and it's only going to be because of the games that are provided.
Oh yeah. I just worry that they don't. Sony historically doesn't fully support a lot of their I don't want to call them third-party peripherals, but their first-party peripherals. The PSP, the PS Vita, whatever the other one was, I forget what it was, PSVR, and I feel like we're getting into PSVR 2, and I feel like they're waiting for people to positively respond to these things and dump money into these things, but I feel like they don't understand that they need to put in for us to put out. And
Right.
that's just a reality. Like, you have to make me want to get a PSVR 2. It has to have the right price point. From a technology standpoint, it has to be attractive. And then, you know, you have to have the games. You have to have more than just these, like, jump in and jump out experiences. And I still firmly believe that, I don't think it's a Sony issue. I think that's a VR issue. I just don't think VR games right now are at that, like, that futuristic level that we all want them to be at and expect them to be at. They still look wonky. They still look goofy. Like, they play a little wonky, they play a little goofy. If Sony comes out on Thursday and is like, hey, we figured it out, good for Sony. But I just don't think that that's going to be their conference. I don't think it's going to be like, hey, we figured it out. I feel like if they do announce it, and they are going to talk about some stuff, I feel like if they do announce it, the price point's going to be probably a little too high. The tech's probably still not going to be 100% there. And honestly, they're probably not going to announce a slew of games that I'm moved by.
So I think I saw an article a couple of days ago that the PSVR 2 is supposedly going to be launching with 20 games. That as an aside, trying to counteract a little bit of the negativity that we've been portraying with just VR in general, and just with Sony and their peripheral support. It seems like they are hyping this up in a way that I've never really seen outside of their mainline consoles. We've been talking about the PSVR 2 for around a year now, and they've been hyping it up. And apparently people have given it a shot. And the people who've given it a shot have nothing but outstanding things to say. I'm not talking about good things. I'm talking about outstanding. So what would it take for you to consider the PSVR 2 section of State of Play next week as a success?
Let me see something really quick. I need to see a price before I
I don't think there's a price
jump
yet.
into this. Just on the regular PSVR, not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily. The PSVR 2. Let's see, 250 used right now. Okay, here we go. No, it's a discontinued bundle. But what we were looking at, like 400. Was it? Maybe.
I think the base model by itself may have been 300 MSRP.
300? That's not terrible. So I'm just going to go off of Best Buy's bundle pricing right now. VR headset with Iron Man VR, PlayStation camera, which is required, and the PlayStation Move controllers. Collectively, when it was not on sale or open box, it was $350. So without the game bundles, we could probably bring that down to like a solid 300, so $299. It would have to be in that price range. That's A.
Right.
It's going to have to be in that price range. I need it to be in that price range. I also need it to be wireless. I cannot afford to just have cables running all over me. I know that was a big complaint that people had with the original model. You know, it was very cable heavy.
Well, it required its own box, and that box had like 5 different cables.
Yep.
They have sort of solved that because they're mentioning that all the processing would be transferred through a single USB-C cable, but that's still one cable too much, I think.
I agree. And maybe we're asking too much. maybe we're asking too much, but I can't help but agree. 2022, I think we were there by now. You know, we'd still be there. You know, I don't know. I guess I just really don't know exactly what I would want from that. It's about the games, and I know that's kind of weird coming from me on this channel. I don't talk about things being about the games very often, but it is true. It's about the games for me. I need the games to support the console, and if they can't do that, I'm not sold. I need more than just like your jump in, jump out video game experiences on VR. I need something that makes me want to keep it on for 10 hours, man.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree. Now, speaking of games, going back to the wider State of Play as a whole, do you think, despite how they've been messaging this as a third-party showcase, do you think we get any sort of big first-party reveal?
Big first-party reveals from Sony at the PS State of Play. What could they even have to talk about right now? God of War. Final Fantasy.
Yes, God of...
Hogwarts Legacy. Spider-Man 2. Those are the only things that they could talk about. Maybe Wolverine. Highly doubt it, but maybe Wolverine.
Yeah.
I'll take any of the 4. I'll take any of the 4.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, I think if we do get one, it'd be Spider-Man. I think it'd be good timing, given everything going on with Marvel right now, and we all want to see it. I don't think they need to show us too much more of Hogwarts Legacy. If we get anything from it, I'd want a solid release date. Besides that, Final Fantasy 16. I know everyone's super excited for God of War, but like Final Fantasy 16, that's what your boy is waiting on. That's what I want to see some more of.
I'm so happy it's going back to the medieval fantasy. It's oh man, it's gonna be glorious.
It's about damn time.
Yep.
You'd leave the car behind. All right, the car's out of gas. Give me the dragon.
Right.
Shit.
I've also been hearing. Again, this is all unfiltered. This is just rampant internet speculation, so take it with a grain of salt. But I've been hearing a lot of rumblings around a potential Sly Cooper 4.
I too have been hearing those rumblings. I'll take a Sly 4. I'll take a Sly
same.
4. I don't think it
Where's
is.
that?
I don't think it would shake things up at all. But like, just like how when we got like the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, just like when we got that, a Sly 4 or a Sly remaster, I think that will like, I think Sony's very good at like, really getting you in the nostalgic bone. I think they're really good for doing that. So I think it would be good for the announcement. I don't feel like it would be a waste, but is it what I'm looking forward to? No.
There's also that movie that they announced like years ago, and there's been no update about that Sly Cooper movie.
I do remember that. Wow, I didn't remember that until you brought it up. They can hold on to that too. I'm fine. Like, give me the game. Give me the game. Maybe accompany the game with the movie. Do something. I don't know.
Kind of like Ratchet and Clank, the way they did that.
Yeah, do something like that. But for now, stick to the game, Sony. Stick to the games.
Please.
And that draws us really towards the end of our show. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on for the state of play, sir?
Listen, might as well. There's no penalty to dreaming, right? So
I disagree.
Let's get Siphon Filter announced. Let's get PS Vita 2 announced. Let's just go balls to the wall with this one, please.
Oh my God!
It's E3 season, man.
You're living in a fantasy world. Okay. Jesus. All right. I know who I'm messing with now. My man said PS Vita 2.
Oh man, listen. Hey, like you said, it was killed because Sony did not support it. It could have been so good.
It could have. I'm not about to shit on the PS Vita. I'm not about to shit on Sony handhelds. They all could have been great, but Sony just does not care about us. They just don't.
No.
And the sooner we realize that, the better. Sir, that brings us to the end of this episode of Geeks and Goblins. Is there anything you want to tell the people before we ship on out of here?
Yeah, I mean, you can catch me right on this channel. I like streaming on here every now and then, No, I'm just kidding. So I'm going to be streaming more of Knights of the Old Republic this upcoming Wednesday. The guy above me, he was very generous enough to make me some nicer looking overlays than what I've had so far. I was just making do. So I'm excited to get back onto that this Wednesday. Friday night, I'll be getting back into Mass Effect. I've been itching to get back into it. Of course, my stomach issue prevented me from playing a little bit yesterday, but I'm excited to keep it going. And then next week, I think we have some interesting stuff to talk about at Geeks and Goblins, but we'll see what this week holds for us.
I think so. I think this week should be pretty interesting in relation to Geeks and Goblins and all the thingies. And you can catch me going live here on Monday. We are doing a team stream. Yes, indeed. You can find me in Utopian Revolt on this channel this Monday. We're going to be playing some Roller Champions, the new free-to-play game by Ubisoft, which honestly, I was just going to download. I just don't want to miss the wave of people playing a game. But like, low-key, I've been loving it. Like, it's disgusting how much I've actually enjoyed playing this game. You can ask Azu. I was in here screaming goal. Like, I stood up out of my chair and was screaming. Like, it was like, it was different than Knockout City. It was different than all the other games that I've like sports games that I picked up to play. It's very straightforward. It tells you what it is. You do that, and that is it. And it gets my blood pumping, and it's fun, and it's frustrating, and I actually see myself playing it for quite a while. So
nice.
If you want to check out Roller Champions, which I guess I should also preface, it is kind of like a roller derby kind of experience. It's a roller derby game. It's with like Rocket League vibes. So if that means anything to you, but yes, it's roller derby. Come check it out. It's super fun. It's super free. Check it out. It's super fun to play. And if you are skeptical about it, come watch us play it on Monday. We're gonna have a ball while I scream at Alex about how he should pass the ball to me.
I can already hear it. But super free is a term I'm going to be using from here on out. Thank you very much for that, sir.
You're welcome. It's one of my favorite phrases. Super free, 5-finger discount. That shit is mine, and you can't take it from me. Yeah.
Okay.
3 of my favorite
All right.
That's free phrases.
All right.
Yeah,
cool.
you can borrow those.
Sounds good. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
you're welcome. It's like the seasoning we talked about at the beginning of the episode. You gotta season it up a little bit, all right? It's like plain chicken. You don't want that. Season that bitch. All right, a little adobo, a little sazon, maybe some garlic powder, some onions,
dude.
maybe. And
Listen.
you don't want to do that, a nice little Italian seasoning, but you got to make sure you salt and pepper it a little bit. Fuck you talking about? You got to get it right. The seasoning.
Bro, if you are seasoning your chicken with just salt and pepper, get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out. Just leave. Be gone. Just fuck off. Just fuck right off.
Just get out.
Just leave.
We don't want you here.
And leave the chicken because you're abusing it. It's animal abuse. You can't.
I
I
mean,
think
it
it's just not okay. It's not right. All right. You don't deserve to eat it. Go drink water.
Go turn into a vegan or something. I don't know.
Filthy bastards. Like, go away now. I'm leaving. We're going away, and you can't stop us. So good night.
Good night, sir.
And don't forget to check out Geeks and Goblins on your favorite streaming platform on Spotify and podcasts and all that shit. Goodbye.